Back to the retreat. So right understanding leads to right thinking. Wrong understanding leads to wrong thinking, right? Wrong. So samadhi leads to sammasankappa. And understanding is not just book learning. Any profession you do, anything you do, you can read the books. You can read a book about driving a car or doing a balance sheet or making a table. You can read all the books you want, but life is not a book. It's real. It's real that way. So one way of looking at right understanding is understanding that this moment is the way it is. It's like this. That's an understanding. But it's not a definition. Or it's not a judgment. It's not saying anything about this moment. It's just like this. And then on top of that, maybe it's hot, feels like this, or noisy, feels like this. You can put some additive to it. So the entry into right understanding and insight is presence and an acknowledgement of the awakened state of mind. It's like this. And if you do that a lot, you start to touch the background, the silence of the mind, but you also notice what you're creating around the present moment with thought, with wrong thinking. So you're in a traffic jam in Don Valley, not me, you. And some guy cuts in front of you and is, almost bumps you or whatever, and that is unpleasant. Vedana is dukkha vedana. And then you start to get irritated and say, I hate this place, I want to go to Tisarana or whatever. That's something you're creating, right? The unpleasantness that's kind of natural. Pleasant and unpleasant is just part of our life. So then you witness, this is what unpleasant feels like. It doesn't grow into anger. It doesn't grow into road rage or something like that. It's a little example, but most of life is like that, isn't it, right? So when you constantly do this practice of, it's like this, awakening, you see where wrong thought is. And wrong thought is all about egotistical thought, me and my thought. Whereas right thinking is understanding what's going on and then directing the mind to be what would be skillful. So you're in the Don Valley Parkway at 5:15 p.m. Is that the worst time? Could be, yeah. And you've been there for an hour. and then you notice you're getting irritated or annoyed, or you have an appointment. And I say annoyance is this way. And that's thinking, but now it's a recognition of the way things are rather than a rejection of it. And then from that you might say, just be patient, or this will change, or Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami. You can use language in a very skillful way to do that. But first of all, you have to awaken, and that's right understanding. So, like yesterday I was talking about an extreme kind of karmic condition. I had a fear. And sometimes life is that way, where you have these extremes of karma. So if someone is betrayed in a marriage, in a relationship, if someone loses a child, if someone gets a diagnosis of cancer, if someone's house is bombed, or those are the extremes of life, where the result of that can be emotionally incredibly powerful. And then you just, like with grief, people say, I've been grieving for a year. Well, why not? Why shouldn't grief last a year? Who knows? We don't know. So sometimes the emotional life has a lot of content which you just have to witness and bear with and be patient with. And there's no game plan that way. I had one friend whose husband, she was about 40. She had 3 kids. Husband was a doctor. He had a brain aneurysm and died like that. He was just gone. And I was in the ICU when they took him off the ventilator. And then she just was talking about this for a whole year, just talking about it. Other Buddhists said, well, you should just get over it. I said, well, come on. How do you get over it? It just is as it is. And then eventually she didn't need to re-talk this over, and she's fine. She's fine. She just had to, that was grieving. There's nothing wrong. So sometimes those extremes, you just have to witness them and bear with them. But much of life is not really extreme, it's just bad habits. Much of our mental life is just, that's what the mind does, it complains. It wakes up in the morning, oh gosh, another day on the Don Valley, or whatever you want. Or it is into self-doubt, or self-disparagement, or, things which aren't emotionally so very, very powerful, but they're still habitual, and they still preoccupy you with the foreground. They deny you the piece of the background. And those kinds of things, you can just say, I'm not going there. Your mind starts to complain about whatever. I'm not going there. And because it's not powerful, it doesn't go there. It's just a bad habit. But that's not repression. That's not repression. It's understanding how the habits of mind work, how thought works, and how you can direct your mind to another state. So I could feel, grumbling about something and say, yeah, but I've got a place to live, and I've got food, and bring your mind to a state of gratitude. But that would not be repression. It's not like you're trying to get rid of anything. You're moving your perceptions around to skillful places. And that's in the image of the suttas, it's like a carpenter takes out a large peg with a smaller peg. Right? He's got a large peg holding two beams together. So he takes a smaller peg, knocks out the larger peg. And that's the same kind of idea. You can knock out a complaining habitual mind with a mind which looks at another perception. But if you do it, I shouldn't complain, that's ego. And that's wrong thinking. I'm a bad person, I'm always complaining, I shouldn't be complaining. That's not right thought, or it's not right understanding. It's ego, it's habit, and then you're just in the foreground all the time. Whereas if you're constantly monitoring the moods of the mind, which you should be doing, you're noticing your inner world all the time, and then the mind wants to float into something negative and divisive or whatever you say, no, I'm not going to get reborn into that. And that can be quite skillful. So that's why then when we do practices of, say, like metta bhavana, and we do them deliberately, we create a tone in the mind which is very wholesome and very uplifting and very unified, and it's not based on desire. But we're not doing it to suppress anything. So you imagine, let's say if I have a habit of complaining about my family and work or something like that, and then in the evenings or mornings, I just start to do metta bhavana, just as a practice. Then the perceptions of metta bhavana become stronger in my mind, obviously, right? So then, as the complaining mind comes up, I have something to balance. I've got metta bhavana in the mind, which then notices the other more easily and becomes a form of addressing those habits. So we develop wholesome states of mind, which give the mind a certain vibrancy, a certain tone, a certain attitude, but we realize that we can't always maybe feel metta. But that's all right. It's so the background is always, it's like this, without judgment. And then the assessment is, okay, what would be skillful? What would be a good thing to do now? What could I do skillfully? And that's intelligence, isn't it? You're just intelligent about the way you're conditioned. So in terms of effort in meditation, you want to have an effort which is not based on desire. Because if it's based on desire, then you're setting yourself up for suffering. And that's why it's good to consider the three types of desire in the attitudes and efforts you make in meditation. So as you've probably all studied, the three kinds of desire, bhava, vibhava, and kama tanha. Bhava is becoming. Vibhava is suppression, repression, resistance. And kama tanha is sensual I like to look at essential preoccupation. If I'm always preoccupied with my with an iPhone or some kind of digital device, then that's kama tanha. I'm always consuming the digital information, but whatever I like, whether it's Facebook or Mickey Mouse cartoons, it doesn't really matter. They're all the same. It's a constant consuming, right? And that's what kama tanha is. It's a consuming of experience, preoccupation of experience, which doesn't give you any access to peace. As long as I'm preoccupied with the foreground, how can I notice the background? How can I notice peace? How can I realize nibbana? So it's not a moral issue. It's not it's not wrong to watch cat videos or whatever people watch, right? It's perfectly within the 5 precepts. But you take it further, what does that do about your mind? It means your mind, every time you feel restless, you go out into an object. Cat videos or NHL hockey or cake recipes, whatever you want. They're all the same. So then you become habituated to deal with a restless mind by going out. The mind going out is the cause. The result of the mind going out is suffering. The mind knowing the mind is the path. The result of the mind knowing the mind is the end of suffering. So then you say, well, okay, I'm not going to use my digital device for half an hour. It's not long. So then you're sitting there very innocently and you feel restless. Why? Because you've looked at the digital device for 24/7 for 5 years or whatever it is. So then you make an adhitthana, and you make the adhitthana to observe restlessness. So you're sitting there, and then it's 29 minutes, and you want to do that. You want to go out into an object, and you say, nope, I'm not going to do it. And after 5 minutes, you think it's a mistake. Then you go back to your digital device, and then you start again. Because we're human. I mean, this is what we do. But you could see that if you took a period of time and you didn't have a digital device, you did what digital device fasting, say, right? And you were quite diligent in that. Then you would say, oh, restlessness feels this way, wanting to distract feels this way. And you were diligent in that. Then the tendency to react through restlessness by going out would be what? It would be rectified. You have to be patient, but as the restlessness ceased, in the cessation there would be peace. And that's what Nibbana is about. The cessation of desire, if you allow it to happen, reveals the peace of the mind, reveals the silence of the mind, reveals the background. That's the principle. So that's why it's very important to look at, to understand how desire works in your mind in various ways. So kama tanha, I look at it that way, and it's like consumerism. You're consuming things all the time. It might be creative ideas or whatever. Bhava is the sense of time and me becoming something. And in terms of meditation, it can very much be geared on attainment. So you read about a teacher that gets this kind of Sotapatti, Anagami, Sakadagami, you get all that kind of language, and then you think, have I got it yet? Have I got stream entry? Or people would go to Lompo Cha, they'd say, Lompo, I had this experience, am I a stream enter? He says, I don't know, are you? He wouldn't buy into that at all. It's just like, he said, go away. Because it's still ego. Me becoming something, attaining to something. So if you hear someone bragging, I am a Sotapatti, just go, nah. Don't get intimidated by that. Because how could it be? It's just an ego statement that, because really, attainment is more like letting go. Letting go of greed, hatred, and delusion, the cessation of anger, the cessation of fear, it's more like that. Things fall away and truth is revealed. So, but in Theravada, we're so conditioned by these different ideas of jhana and ideas of stream entry. We just get so silly about that, to be honest, Did you get first or second? she was flying on the lake. She must have third. It's like, and then it's like kids and bubblegum cards. Have you got, or it's very egotistical. It's also very cultural, very competitive. And then you that Ajahn, hey, he has got that, and that Ajahn has that one, and it's like it's very much a kind of a cultural thing in Theravada, all of that. But if you're looking at your mind and you really realize that most of that is gossip, intimidation. The suttas aren't gossip. I'm not saying that, but what you can really know is what you feel right now. And the definitions of jhana are this and that. But if you work with the three types of desire, then you won't buy into these ideas of becoming or getting, because that's bhava. If you really understand what bhava means, it's about the future, me getting something. And if you're trying to meditate to get something, then already you're in bhava tanha. How could that work? Not that it's wrong to aspire to freedom, that's fine. But if it's done with desire and ego desire and so on, then how could that work? So Luang Cha always taught about letting go. Let go of attachment. Let go of self-view. Let go of Silabbata Paramasa. Keep letting go and then see what happens. And that you can do, but you have to understand what letting go is. So in your meditation, you want to, I think, a very good type of language to bring in is, say, non-becoming. So I like to use the negation language as a way of setting up my meditation. So I'll sit down, I'll say, non-becoming. And then if I'm trying to get something, I'll notice it very clearly. It's like I create a white canvas called non-becoming. And then in that white canvas, I can see, I want to get something. I want to attain something. I want to realize something. And that's tanha. And the idea then is to know that as an object, and then when it ceases, in the cessation of bhava tanha, there's peace, there's nibbana. In the cessation of that, not in the pursuit of it. So non-becoming is a very part of my right Sammasankappa language is non-becoming. And then for vibhava tanha is the desire to get rid of. So desire to get rid of pain. So your insight about pain, well, it's just pain. And then you find the background and you're at peace with pain. Trying to get rid of mind states, trying to get rid of anger, trying to get rid of this or that, is all about repression, and it's still craving. It's still craving. So then another very good word to put in is non-resistance. In the Zoom talks that I was doing with the Singapore group, I gave whoever wanted to, I gave them homework for the year. And the homework was non-resistance. Do that a year. Do that a whole year. Well, why not? What else you got to do? And you start to make that language very strong, non-resistance. And then you say, I don't want this, I don't want that. I want to try to get rid of this. And that's one of the cravings. That's a vibhava tanha. So begin to understand how vibhava tanha works. And then because you know it as an object, you're no longer the subject, it begins to cease. And in the cessation there's peace, the realization of nibbana. So these three, consuming, preoccupying with sense experience, becoming, trying to get, trying to attain, trying to get rid of, vibhava, resisting, those are the three types of craving. And they're the things that pull you out, away from the mind knowing the mind. That's a pulley, right? If I'm experiencing pain in my leg, and the sitting is only half over, I got 30 minutes to go. If I don't recognize, pain is like this, and I don't see the resistance to the pain, I can move, there's nothing wrong with moving, but it's that not wanting the pain, then the next half an hour is going to take 6 hours. Because I want this sitting to end. It's going to be a very, very long half hour. And yet, if I can just know, pain is this way, I don't want the pain. Resistance feels this way. Non-resistance, nowhere to go. Then the pain is kind of okay. I can move if I want, and the time is ordinary, or even quicker. So we create a lot through, and you can see that then, like in this example of pain, then the mind going out into the pain rather than knowing the pain as an object, and the shifting and the restlessness that comes from that. So in terms of like pain that you do have and not moving, don't hurt yourself. Like, don't just sit and, okay, I'm not going to move. Like, I must admit, Mr. Goenka's maximum determinations of 60 minutes, I totally disagree with that. I think it just makes people tense. Because if you say you're not going to move for 60 minutes, then as soon as you want to move, you fall into the danger, I can't move, I mustn't move. So you might be able to willfully not move for 60 minutes, but would that be mindful? It becomes an athletic feat. This isn't about athleticism. Okay, 1 hour, wow. She didn't move for 2 hours, wow. She's crippled, oh, sorry. She can't move. So to sit still is good, but to sit still with wisdom. And what is wisdom? Well, okay, I'm going to try to sit still. I'm going to try not to fidget. Yeah? And I'm going to use that intention then to watch the desire to move. Well, then I watch the desire to move, but I'm not threatened by the desire to move. Right? Oh, I shouldn't move, I shouldn't move. I should stay still. That's not mindful. No, I make a determination, okay, I'm going to try to be as still as possible, not move, not fidget. It's a good thing. And then I watch the desire to move. Oh, desire feels this way. I want to scratch myself. Oh, desire feels that way. Because then that's mindful. And then I can let go of the desire. But if my leg hurts in a way that I'm going to damage myself, then I move. Quite mindfully, quite deliberately. That to me seems much more important than not moving for 1 hour. I know when I used to have that mindset as a young monk, and it was very, very macho, kind of young guy, I'm not going to move kind of thing, but it was harder than these. And I don't think it wasn't wise. It wasn't wise. It was just a young guy being whatever young guys do. So the three tanhas are they're not abstracts, right? Like you have to see them operating in your mind. So we could do a meditation. Let's stretch our legs, and then I'll try to use that language: non-preoccupation, non-resistance, and non-becoming. So let's stretch our legs a bit. So if I were to say to you right now, you cannot move for 1 hour, what would that do to your mind? He's looking. Okay. So set up a posture. I always take time to do that because that embodies your practice. So you're stable on the cushion or on a chair. Nice, you really feel solid. Your legs or your thighs and ankles are nice and solid. You're nicely grounded. You've got your shoulders open, your chest is open. So you have a nice tall posture. And your hands are resting in a way that you can be still. You don't have to keep shifting. So just feel the body as the body. So let bodily sensations become conscious. The body sitting here. And notice the silence of awareness. And then introduce these attitudes, non-becoming, not going anywhere, not trying to find anything, non-becoming. Non-resistance. accepting all things, welcoming all things. And then the really difficult one, non-preoccupation, letting go of past and future thoughts. Letting go of past and future thoughts. So it's like this. So just like when you're sitting here, just kind of waiting for an instruction, notice how quite often you're looking for something, you want to do something, nothing to do, non-becoming, non-resistance, clarity of presence. So this is what you want to keep returning to. This is what you want to stay a while here. This is your real home, say. So the mind going out is the cause. The mind knowing the mind is the path. So it's like this is the path. And it's very hard to actually sustain this. So having something to do can be quite skillful. So be with the breathing of the body now. Welcome the in-breath. Let go of the out-breath. Welcome the in-breath. Let go of the out-breath. Now bring your attention to the center of your chest. Feel the rising and falling at the center of the chest. On the in-breath, use the name of a person and the image of a person that you easily can think loving thoughts to. Use the name to trigger that loving feeling. Draw it in with the in-breath to the center of the chest. And on the out-breath, wish them well by saying, may you be well. So if I were to think of my teacher, Lompo Somedo, on the in-breath, Lompo. On the out-breath, may you be well. So several things there. One is associative memory with the name of a person, and the memory is one of loving kindness and gratitude, say. So Lompo, just the name, triggers the feeling of gratitude in my heart. Lompo. I stay centered try to stay centered at the center of the chest, heart chakra. Lompo. And the out-breath giving something back. May you be well, well-wishing. So create a pattern now. Choose one person. Use that person for 10, 20 breaths, a few minutes, less if you want. And then choose another person. Same pattern. So if I were to think of Ajahn Pavaro on the in-breath, may you be well. And so choose about 3 or 4 people And keep stimulating that sense of loving kindness at the center of the chest. Okay, so let's just do that for a while. So the breathing calms the mind. But if you're getting sleepy, then you have to make the breath longer, deeper, more energy, more vitality. So those people who are falling asleep a lot, they probably don't hear what I'm saying anyway, but the way it works, then the breath is very shallow when you're falling asleep. And the suggestion is that make the breath at least twice as long, longer, and you'll find that with sleepiness, you won't want to do that. You just go back to a shallow breath. But if it's just an ordinary situation, then we feel the in-breath with a welcoming. Om-pa. Out-breath, feel the out-breath, may you be well at the center of the chest. So the in-breath is an act of imagination. You're imagining, remembering this person. And that imagination then triggers the sense of gratitude that you might have, loving kindness. But you're not thinking about this person. It's not discursive. It's not like a story of what we did last year or something like that. It's just this heartfelt feeling that the memory, the vision of the person triggers. And then each time you change the person, it kind of refreshes, like you do in a computer. Is it refresh? Is that what you call it? And then you kind of remember what you're doing. Connecting to another person, there's a kind of freshness there. And then work with that, and then another person. So the pattern is you do a few people and you come back to the first one again. And then after a while, you kind of tire of the language and you get a sense of just breathing in at the heart, letting go at the heart. So there's a center of attention at the heart chakra. And most important, there's an attitude of kindness, caring, kindness, welcoming, that sort of open attitude. So play around with that. If you have another way of doing it, that's fine. So non-preoccupation. So were you preoccupied with something? Thought, past, future, dullness. Non-preoccupation. It's like this. So bring the mind to a sense of brightness, presence. It's like this, silence. And non-becoming. You know, once you're there, stay a while. You're home again. It's like this. Non-resistance. When something comes up into the mind, don't try to get rid of it. Know it as an object. Be the background. non-preoccupation. It's like this. Non-becoming and non-resistance. So receptive awareness, where you're not trying to figure anything out or looking for something. So presence, abandoning past and future. So practice till lunchtime.